started. So we're going to start off with check-in. Check-in question of the day is your favorite thing. So name, position, Senate, PGPs, and check-in question, your favorite thing that you have done outside this weekend, because it's really beautiful. So I'll start. Mia, associate liaison. I like she, her, hers, and my favorite thing I've done outside is lay volleyball all day. Both days. So.
I'm Aaron. Second year. I do committee stuff and city liaison stuff on Senate. And I don't know, just like hanging with friends. Also, after I was on the tax clinic on Saturday, I took a nice walk in the park. It was like really warm and really solid experience. Recommend it to everyone.
Okay. Hi, I'm Rachel. I'm fourth year HE hers. I'm the committee appointments liaison, also the student health working group. And yesterday I got to go on a field trip to Cleveland all day, which was great.
That was custody in America.
I'm Emma. I'm a first year at HE Her and Hers. I am a Senate Operations Manager. Something fun outside I did this weekend was I went to TGIF for the first time in my college career and really enjoyed it. And I went on a really quality walk for 2 hours last night.
What is TGI?
It was a lot of sitting on a blanket and listening to music.
I know what we did this week. It was awesome.
Yeah, it was great.
I'm Peter. I go Ian Hez. I'm the treasurer of the Senate. And my favorite thing I did this weekend was build a giant brain float for the big parade. Yeah. And watch Paul Paschke's lacrosse game.
I'm Sarah, she, her, hers, second year, not on Senate. And my favorite thing that I did outside this weekend was watch the final home lacrosse game. Men's. True.
Hi, I'm Eliza. I'm from Fearless and Loathing. My favorite thing was also I went on a field trip to Cleveland yesterday with Rachel.
I'm Sarah. I'm not on Senate. And I you see her hers, and I played an impromptu game of soccer in the grass yesterday. That was fun.
I'm Evan. I'm not on Senate. I use them and theirs. I went for a really, really long walk down to like the reservoir on Saturday. That was really, really nice.
The round one?
The round one?
Like circle?
Maybe. Yeah, like all the way like west on 4th Street.
I'm Talia. I'm not on Senate. I'm just an interested constituent. And I prefer she, her, and hers, and I ate my dinner outside, which was lovely. Oh. Hello, I'm Madison. I she, her, hers. I'm also not on Senate. And I went for a lovely spring stroll with my girlfriend this weekend.
I'm Anders. He, him, and his is fine. I'm not on Senate. Yes. And I went to TJ as well.
I'm Robert, he, him, his, not on Senate. I don't have a really good weekend. I went to a lacrosse game, I did TJF, and last night was just in the pod for like 2 hours, just chilling. Yeah, it was just really no stress.
My name is Paul. I'm a fourth year. I'm the Green Liaison for Student Senate. I use he and his. And my favorite thing this weekend was playing lacrosse. We beat DePaul 17-4, and I scored my first goal of the season.
Woo!
Hi, I'm Hope. I'm outreach coordinator and city liaison. And my favorite thing that is, I went for Friday actually. It was really nice to do.
I'm Julia. I usually work also not on Senate, and I went to the class meeting as well.
I'm Zia Jimenez. I'm sharpering liaison and chair of the student health working group. And this weekend, I also went on a field trip yesterday, which was really nice, to the Moss.
Great. Okay, does anyone have any additions to the agenda? General feelings? All in favor?
Yay.
Great. Okay, so outside business. Would hopefully see better. Okay. All right. If there's no outside business announcements, Bill, you want to?
Sure. Okay, so half announcement, half question, I guess. But so SFC applications for those of you who don't know, I'm Julia, coach at SFC. SFC is the finance committee, and applications for the student finance committee are due either Tuesday the 15th or Monday the 14th. It said Tuesday the 14th on the email.
Okay.
So did you mean Tuesday?
I'm not sure.
Maybe I think Tuesday. Okay. And then I was wondering how many people have applied, and if we maybe would want to extend the deadline given the busy nature of students on campus recently, especially around issues of financial accessibility, which I think definitely tie to SFC work. And so for those of you who are here who care a lot about the financial accessibility on campus and want to get involved in a very powerful way on campus, the Student Finance Committee is something that I highly suggest looking at. So, I don't know, would you guys feel it? Like, do you think it's necessary to set a deadline, or?
Does anyone have information on how many people have applied for SFC? Who would have?
We have one person so far.
One person so far?
I do know people in Oberlin will probably submit a bunch like midnight, Monday night, but in the interest of like the diversity of applicants, we might want to, maybe we can talk about this on Tuesday morning or something. I don't know, maybe after the fact, see how many people came in, but that's something I'm worried about.
I have a question. Is the work like stipended or paid?
It is, yes. You get paid a high minimum wage by the hour. And more any information is on the website. You can ask me now.
In advertising for that position, is that made clear?
Yes, yeah. It was in an all-campus email by Senate, but I think judging from the lack of response, we might want to send to like targeted listservs and make more announcements like this. And another thing I'd like to stress is that we typically get a lot of politics and econ majors, and like though that you can, it's sort of like an obvious link in the work that is done. It's not necessary in any way. In fact, it's important to have people who aren't like politics and econ majors on the committee, people who want to bring a diversity of experiences and opinions about campus accessibility and programming and things like that. So, yeah, not getting the typical applicant would be good, but having more targeted reach in an extended deadline might be good. And SFC can do that. I know Senate's busy, and we're planning to do that.
Yeah, sorry.
Would it be useful for you guys to just like pick a number of applicants and maybe a sub number of like non-politics econ major applicants to have by Tuesday and just extend the deadline if you don't meet that? And like, would that be a useful game plan?
I think it would be nice to see a diversity of like majors, but I don't want to be like essentializing people by their major necessarily. So I think if we just like having an extended deadline to get the email out to as many people as possible, even though all campus email should have done that, people don't read them again.
How long would you want to send it to? Like a week or something?
Yeah, I don't think any longer than a week. And I think the closer the deadline, the more like pressing people feel it would be to apply maybe. So I guess maybe it would be Aaron that I talked to maybe on Tuesday about how that would go about sending you to.
I was just gonna say my office hours are on Tuesday, 2 to 3, and summer trains So if you're free, for sure. 2 and 3?
I'm pretty good.
Well, you can
Is there anything we need to do to like say like yeah, let's extend the deadline? Like if you guys like meet and want to, can you just do that? Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it's like good on that. Yeah, we already sent, we have to vote if we want to send it an email.
Right.
But, which I think we will have to if we're extending it. So, I'll be courteous and tell us when we're sending it.
Yeah.
But if you could put under your
Yeah, decision. Well, should we decide whether to send the email today or wait until?
well, send it.
Let's keep going.
You have? Okay. Any other comments? Do that work for everybody?
Can I ask another SSC question, not necessarily business, but how was the referendum? Do you know, who reached numbers?
The SFC referendum, last I heard, I spoke with Lauren last week and we sent out another off-campus email and we were still like almost 500 responses down. But I haven't been able to get in touch with Lauren this week, so I don't know how it's been doing since the email, but I can let you guys know as soon as I find out. Anything else? Cool. Okay, office hour reports. Does anybody have stuff to share from their office hours? Yeah. Yeah, so you can just go back, it's fine. This is very low key.
So I had a meeting with Kiki, Peter Levy, and Adrian Miller on Friday about like local labor and contracts for mostly the building of the new hotel and thing. And so we had an interesting conversation, and I just wanted to announce that there's sort of an organization that's organizing around this called the Oberlin Community Benefits Coalition to do push like community benefits agreements here, which is kind of a way to ensure like the resources in like building projects are like used locally.
What was the name of the organization?
Oberlin Community Benefits Coalition. And it's formed in the city. So I just wanted to make an announcement that on April 22nd, in the Oberlin Public Library, I think I wrote it in the wrong place. But on April 22nd, there's a meeting. Oh, from 5 to 7. There's a meeting in the Oberlin Public Library. So if you're interested in like hearing more about this and want to come, just send me an email. I can make sure about that.
Okay.
I have an announcement. So the grant applications for the Green Edge Fund are due Wednesday night at 11:59. So I just want to get that in the mix so people know when we're going to do.
Student Union Board is looking for new members also. Applications are due ASAP. That's better.
Okay, any more announcements? All right, second call for office hour reports. Okay, cool. Committee reports. Does anyone have any committee reports? Okay, all right, let's try working group reports.
The sustainability working group met on Friday. There was just one showed up, and we are starting to write a resolution that hopefully students will pass about some of the environmental concerns that this working group has on campus. So feel free to come if you're interested. The working group is bi-weekly, so it won't meet this Friday, but the Friday after at 1 o'clock in those areas.
Great.
Cool. EMT working group has been doing a lot of things. we had a meeting with Mercy Allen and some of the EMTs there, and they seemed very, very amiable to the idea of Oberlin College having an EMT squad, mostly because a large number of calls that Mercy receives, so there are only 2 ambulances, generally only one of which is active, and even at night, are dedicated towards helping college students who often are facing issues of intoxication that do not actually need any on-site treatment. But since SNS is liable for anything that happens to them because they don't have any medical training, they end up going to the hospital anyway, and thus tie up our ambulances. So when calls for, say, heart attacks or massive trauma occur in Oberlin, neighboring districts are called, thus delaying those services. So essentially, there is a shortage of EMT labor, and it's very appreciated that Oberlin College could help out with that, because we can get an EMT force, much like EMT forces run by students at other colleges, up and running. So they gave me a number for their medical controller, who we're going to talk to about getting that in line and about finally setting up protocols. We've also been in contact with the EMT instructor at Marin Joint Vocational School, and I met with their program director on Monday, as well as with the EMT instructor, and ironed out what a Oberlin EMT training course would look like, which, if we can get it together, and I've also met with Betsy Bruce in athletics, and we're attempting to meet with Professor Garvin this coming week in the bio department about trying to get out of the bio department or the athletics department, be a sponsoring department for this event, or not this event, this course, which would get people trained as nationally registered EMTs through a hopefully 4-credit course, mostly on campus. It would require a few field trips. I think about 4 is what we figured out would be, and that would include all off-site practicals, as well as every single, or as well as both the test and the practical test, to get nationally registered. So a lot of progress on that front. The organization is still working through. We're still looking to meet with SNS. They've been very busy, but being that we made a huge amount of progress, I'm going to send them a report in the next day or 2, and hopefully that will get them back on the boat, because we've been working with them for a very long time, and they have so far seemed to be amenable to this process. So all in all, it seems like we could very, very definitely have everything together in the next few weeks, and that we could have not only an EMT training course hopefully in the spring of next year, but that we could have an student-run EMT program running on Oberlin's campus by next year. So we're going to be working hard on that, and I got my great team working with me, and I'm excited to keep moving it forward.
Great, thanks. Any other?
So I'm Hope, and I'm the chair of the Transparency Working Group. And this Friday at 2:30 in the Science Center, we're hopefully, I'm sending out emails, and no one's responded yet, so I'm going to try to put some pressure on them. But hopefully we're going to talk about the no trespass, so if that's something that interests you, please stop by and email me if you want, if you have any suggestions or anything. Yeah, sorry, what did you say for me? Friday at 2:30 in the Science Center. Cool.
And that you
Yes.
Oh, sorry.
It's not a demo question, you can ask that anyway though.
Yeah, you can go ahead.
I guess a question for you is this is a conversation, I guess, framed specifically for students?
Oh, me? Oh,
Yeah,
sorry.
because if it's in the science center, then people who are like trespass list can't participate.
Yeah,
But it
understood.
is for students?
Yeah. Actually, now that you mention that, I will definitely go about having a meeting in a different place. I don't know where that place is going to be currently. Possibly like a public library or something like that.
Change
To make it more accessible, yeah. Yeah, I apologize for not thinking about that beforehand, but I've been kind of keeping this on the back burner for a while, and I've been trying to send emails to people. So hopefully this will happen. Even if we don't have guest speakers, I'm still trying to get as much information as I can about it.
Just a quick update. We had this clinical transportation working group meeting Friday. We're meeting every week now. These things are picking up. We found money for a grant that would allow us to hire someone full-time next year. This would be anyone, community member, or graduating senior or other person to focus on the issue of public transportation. So if you have anybody in mind that would be interested in that, let me know. They'd have to go through a training in August, and then they'd be free to do their thing. So that's like the biggest news. We've also started work on a transportation guide to sort of make all the different options in Oberlin more accessible to people. This will be, when it's finished, by the end of the semester, it'll be distributed to the college and the community in like hard copies. There's places like the library, places on campus, but also like hopefully working through the mobile app, and other electronic ways as well. And it'll be periodically updated. But those are like the big projects that we're working on right now.
Great, thank you. Any other working reports? Cool.
One
So,
Quick thing.
yes.
On the student health working group, we've been pushing this for a long time. We finally got the counseling center to start offering feedback forms in their office. The people are filling out, and it's awesome. So they'll get some really good feedback from that. Leah and I have also been working on putting together an anonymous feedback form for both student health and the counseling center that we could send out to the entire student body. So we could just kind of collect a mass amount of information from people in some other those offices that have done it in the past. So hopefully we'll be able to read details on that list.
Oh, I can get back to that and just say, student health work group will meet this Thursday at 7 p.m.
Where?
Oh, sorry, as rise.
Okay. If there are any other working group reports, moving on decisions, I might have put this in the wrong place. Do you guys know if the referendum has to be like voted on, like approved to send out to the student body? Is that how we should do this? Okay, then I'm gonna add that really quick. So
We could do each question.
we do each question?
We vote on each question, being in there or not, yeah.
Okay.
Or we can also just do it in the slate.
How do you guys feel about that? Do we have to do something?
No, we don't.
I mean, we could just propose and pass all the questions as they're written in there.
Okay.
We like them all, we can see them talk to each person.
Well, if that is how it has to go, I would have a process suggestion to skip decisions and come back after we've discussed the questions.
Yeah.
Does that sound good to you guys?
Also,
Yes.
only under 10, does that mean we can't vote?
We can vote if no one calls for them.
Alright.
Can somebody check for bylaws specifically, because I would that's my job, but like I'm taking minutes right now and I cannot do those. To check whether or not we can like do anything with under 10.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
you're supposed to have 10.
And they'll do that.
Thank you.
Well,
We can still discuss it.
yeah. Yeah, we're moving decisions anyway, so we'll have time to, we'll call that up. So process suggestion to, like, do discussions and then do decisions. General feelings? Cool. Do we should vote on that? So, discussions. First off, financial aid change. Who would like to leave that off? There's a lot.
There are a lot of us here, and I am not the sole architect of this, but me and a small working group who've been reacting and aiming to kind of ensure that the financial aid policy that was implemented doesn't actually get passed, because I know a lot of people have been talking about how it's really detrimental and damaging to a lot of students on this campus, particularly students who need to live in OSCA or utilize certain meal plans to actually stay at Oberlin. So we have a couple, we have a resolution that we would like to pitch to you guys, but also we want to get Senate's feedback on pitching a resolution to the General Faculty Council, which is meeting on Wednesday, which is kind of more of a direct line between the like administrative decisions and us as students maybe. And so we would, I guess this is like kind of two components. Like one is like y'all as senators like voting on this resolution, which I'll pass around.
I also emailed it to the
Yeah.
Senate GSA.
Oh, that was nice.
Okay, so maybe just like, if you have it up on your computer, maybe just pass them along so we
Yeah.
can have some extra copies.
This
That'd be
one
great.
has some edits on it, but just type this up.
Oh.
Yeah. just-
Yeah, so the one component would be to pass this resolution through Senate, which kind of outlines what the detriments of this policy going through would be, and kind of like puts a system in place to ensure that like there won't be we won't be blindsided by future like policies that take away a lot of our rights as students. And the other component would be to find a way to take a version of this to the GFC meeting on Wednesday. And present to it
Okay, well, since no one's on staff, so if anyone knows more certainly than I do and can speak to this, that would be great. But as far as the general faculty meeting goes, from what I understand, this meeting, the discussion of this was planned like a long time ago, and so I don't know how Student Senate can get like on the agenda and like actually like address the general faculty meeting like in this week's meeting. Yeah, do you?
Just general question, because technically I have a vote on general faculty. What are general faculty meetings?
What are or when?
When?
Are they monthly?
Yeah.
The first or second Wednesday?
I don't know. I was just talking the last one.
They're a Wednesday. One
They're
Wednesday.
Wednesday. Yeah. I think, yeah, that would make sense.
And by I mean the extra committee. Yeah, I'm not that powerful.
But yeah, and I don't think student senators either have a vote on general.
We do.
We do have a vote?
Yeah,
But we
every
don't,
student senator
do we
votes.
usually vote?
No, they never happen, but we can do it. They're
We
not
can.
controversial votes.
Okay.
But they happen.
Do you know who? So basically, you're saying the agenda was already made for that meeting.
I really like, that's from my understanding from like a couple different sources, so I'm really not sure about that. But do you?
No, who we email? Who's the contact?
Molly, I see that.
Eric, where are you?
He is actually in a meeting with the financial aid officer.
Sad excuse.
Pretty good reason.
Yeah, I'm Evan. I said them there. I was gonna ask, you don't usually, the Senate doesn't usually use their vote, but does the Senate usually like send a liaison, or is that just like?
Yeah, we're president of all meetings.
You're president of
We
meetings?
They don't have controversial votes. It just like rarely happens.
Uh-huh.
It's like unless anyone objects. Cool. Like by and large, this has worked out in committees outside of it.
Okay. So how do the votes usually work in the GMC? Is it?
It goes by Robert's Rules of Order.
What was that? Sorry.
It goes by Robert's Rules of Order, I think. I don't know exactly how they work. I sort of know, but it's usually called up by Chris Love, somebody seconds the motion, and then, yeah. And it's just all in favor, all opposed, and look at ours.
Did someone else have, did you have something?
Oh, wait.
Okay.
So basically, there's a very low probability of us getting or some version of this getting on the agenda.
I just know from the last general faculty meeting, there was an SFC agenda item that was brought up rather unexpectedly, and that was not a student-led initiative. Like we presented it to Mark Bates, who's the VP of Finance, and Eric Estes, and David Katsuka, and other people in the administration, and they made sure that it was talked about. So it has happened. So I think, I don't know if Senate necessarily can, but like, we should definitely try and get it on the agenda.
Okay, so if we can get on the agenda, like assuming that's not a factor, if I like charm, I wouldn't know. But would like how and like in what ways would, I guess the question we have is in what ways would Senate be willing to endorse that or kind of put in a pitch for that, and if like there's some terminologies that you guys think should be changed in order for it to be more amenable to that demographic, or yeah, I know John just pointed out, I threw in this little line at the end, like we should revise the strategic planning initiative, which apparently nobody on the GSC has control over, so maybe taking stuff like that out might be, useful. But yeah, how open you guys would be to working with us on this, considering that this feels like a very pressing issue at the moment, and even though that like email was sent out from Marvin today, like I personally don't feel like that means that this should be kind of delayed or.
Yeah, I mean, I think we should talk about the resolution before us, and then like talk about support, and then we can say like, oh, okay, we're going to endorse this for our top general faculty. Luckily, told me that we have access to general faculty thing on Blackboard. I've been looking for it for a while. He says on the left side, the screen's maybe like, I don't know if you have that, if you're at it very longer, or this is mine. But anyways, also I think Lauren's supposed to be, yeah. Lauren's supposed to be internal track on yours. Lauren's supposed to be able to like be our liaison to that.
I think it's actually Mahmoud. Lauren told me.
Oh, Mahmoud?
He's our liaison.
With the general faculty?
He's our liaison.
Liaison, okay. Okay, then from Mahmoud on with this work, we should talk to. Yeah, whatever you said, right? Yeah.
Take more.
You and your.
Yes, I just have a general question for you guys. And I heard this through rumor. I heard that the policy having to do with OSCA was in violation of the college's contract with OSCA and had in fact been revoked already. And it doesn't seem like that's quite addressed in this resolution. So I would just make the suggestion that if it's true, then we take out the parts about OSCA because it sounds like it makes the resolution seem less informed.
Sure.
And that's just my suggestion.
Can I ask where you heard that from? Because the president didn't know that 2 hours ago.
Okay.
So, 2 hours ago, though.
No, I heard it a while ago, and like I said, it might have been rumor.
But who? Unless that's confidential.
I don't know. It was just a general student. It wasn't like super duper informed, like, or whoever. But that's what I had heard. So if you guys want to follow up, I've also been busy with my own.
So I have 1 second.
Yeah, I was gonna offer, I know it's like a little bit wordy, but we could read it aloud so that folks can be like all on the same page if that would be helpful. I don't know. Do you want that?
You before.
Okay. Do you guys want to like? You can even just go around in a circle if y'all want to be involved in this too, and just like read the sections.
There's different aspects.
Could we just like take like a minute or two to read it? 'Cause, like I've been reading like a little bit, but it's been hard for me to like
Totally.
Yeah.
discussion going. Do you guys want to
Just like take a minute to read on our own.
Cool. We'll take like 4 minutes.
There's more copies on the table. There might be a few typos in the email you got, so that might be more like succinct.
I'm looking at the general faculty thing for Wednesday, and their agenda's been sent out. The next spring semester meeting is May 21st, but it looks like they have things planned. But we can also see about getting something from there. I also want to see about getting on this Blackboard.
But we still have that. Okay, reading.
Someone pass a copy of the. Thanks.
You guys are ready to do that?
Yeah.
Okay, I have zero on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Alright guys, so I have Z on stack.
Okay, so overall, personally, I really support this resolution. I like how in the beginning it's really clear, it lays out exactly what changed in the policy, and I think that's really important. it goes into how it will essentially affect the livelihood of many students on campus. I would maybe say that in the whereas aspect of the resolution, possibly adding something about how this was a unilateral decision without any dialogue, because that's you mentioned that in the resolution part of the resolution, but I think it would kind of add kind of a weight to that resolution. In the prior part where you lay out the issue, you say that there was no dialogue whatsoever, and in the past when Oberlin has, attempted to make grand and fundamental changes to its functioning, there have been some dialogue and this time none whatsoever, and this goes against, in my opinion, the integrity of Oberlin as an institution. Also, I just have a couple concerns to maybe some wording. For example, whereas under the new policy there's no financial benefit to having a reduced meal plan in CDS, maybe consider changing that to whereas under the new policy there's increased financial incidence on students for having reduced meal plans. Just something.
Wait, sorry, will you say that again?
Yeah. Whereas under the new policy there is increased financial incidence laid upon students for lowering the meal plans. Just something that makes it so it really points out how students are being affected, rather than it's something that students could take advantage of. Because that's, you know what I mean? Is that clear? And then, other than that, at the end, I agree with pretty much all our be it therefore resolved, except the second to last and third to last. I'm just a little confused because you mentioned something from 2005. Could you possibly just explain what the logic behind adding that part is to me?
Yeah, it was issued in 2005, but it states goals for where the college needs to go by, I believe it was like 2016, 2017, 17. So this is a thing that was kind of codified in 2005, but that the ramifications of are being put into place now. So maybe to clarify that, but also I don't know how much influence we have over the strategic planning initiative to begin with. So.
I would consider possibly taking the third to last and the second to last out, but if this is what the community wants to be part of the resolution, then so be it. But I just think it kind of makes it overall the resolution more streamlined and more effective, and it makes our demands more, I guess, clear, personally, and that's just my thoughts.
Okay, I had Peter on second.
I think overall really, really solid. The other one thing I wanted to point out was the revenues thing. I mean, they're trying to bring in revenue. They are, to an extent, a business, and they're trying to take in as much money as they can. And while due to all these issues, it directly affects students, I mean, theoretically, they can charge students who can't afford more a little bit more, increase their revenues without affecting students who cannot afford that extra burden. Instead of reducing, they're capitalizing on the willingness to pay, sorry to use econ terms, I hate myself for doing it, people who can actually afford that, while not necessarily doing that to people who cannot. And if they feel as if they have to raise revenue, that is, I'd say, a more acceptable way to do it. And I think if we just make it clear that we will not allow you to cut out students in these methods and because they target lower income students, then I think that'd be very, very effective, and it's very much our business.
Sarah?
I liked it a lot. I would suggest that you state transparency as defined by clear mutual lines of communication. If we could define that even more quickly, my just off-the-cuff thoughts were 3 months warning, 2 forums, 3 emails from the administration, because you can define clear communication as whatever you want to define it as, unless we give very specific, this is what we expect. So maybe the college schedules forums when no one can attend, but 3 emails back that up to the listserv. 3 months notice instead of, clear communication a week before the policy goes. So the more we define this, the better. So if you guys are willing to, obviously that was my off-the-cuff thought. So yeah, but if you want to build on that, I think it would be great.
I just have a question about what is, I think I understand what free shift meals are, but can you the community over time? So
when like a student works in CDS, they get just like basically they get to eat a meal like during their shift. So I think this part I was hoping would be clear, but I would like struggle a lot with using clear language, so please let me know if it's not. But it's basically stating that like if somebody works in CDS under the old policy, they can have like a reduced meal plan because they would get free meals during the shifts that they were working, so they wouldn't need all those like CDS meals, like on top of the free meals they get when they're working. Whereas like under the new policy, they wouldn't have like they wouldn't have like the like they wouldn't be able to have like a reduced meal plan and their financial benefits and like yeah, does that make sense? Okay.
Yeah, Sam. This is sort of a question, mostly. I know that this came about really suddenly and it seems all bad, but I just want to devil's advocate, throw it out there, ask whether or not we want to demand that the entire thing is revoked, which is what's in here, I believe, or if we want them to very specifically list out exactly what they're doing, because they do claim that this is for a more equitable system. And like I said, devil's advocate, just like throwing it out there, we can demand more information. I don't know if we want to demand very specifics in the ability to reject step by step, or if we want everything gone and to risk that something that really was beneficial to students goes with it. And again, just devil's advocate. So.
Do you want to carry that as a direct question?
Yeah. Do you guys have a response to that, or just throwing it out there? Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, my response is that I don't buy their equitability thing, like their equity thing. Like I really don't buy that this is like being implemented because they like actually want their policies to be more equitable. But I do sort of understand what you're saying about we don't know the entire policy. It's like sort of like interspersed throughout the website in like hidden places, and like there might be things that we miss. So like I appreciate that point being brought up. Like we don't, when we're asking them to revoke the entire thing, we don't actually know 100% of what it is that we're asking them to revoke. So maybe we should. I don't know if other folks have thoughts on that.
Yeah, you can. So I have Zia next.
I mean, yeah, my thoughts are by demanding them to revoke it, the least they can do in response is clarify what the new policy is. So I think it's okay to kind of go forward with that militant demand. Can you remind me of your name again? Evan? Okay. Before someone mentioned the free shift meals concept, again, that's something where, this is something I mentioned before, maybe we can consider changing the wording, just because it kind of, from this, like the point of view of someone in the administration who would see this resolution, I think it's really effective if it stresses how the new policy acts as a detriment to students instead of how it doesn't allow students to take advantage of a system that allowed them to have lower costs. Does that make sense?
Could you maybe rephrase that?
Yeah.
Just quite relevant.
I think it puts the resolution and the demands being made by it it makes them a little weaker if they come from a point that's like, we don't have access to cheaper, freer things, instead of saying, and it'd be more effective to say, you are making life for us harder.
Gotcha.
You get what I'm saying? Okay.
Cool.
Yeah. I guess I just wanted to maybe point out that no one is taking advantage of anything that the college is giving us, and I know that wasn't like your point, but that's their argument that like people are like taking advantage of like the fact that they like don't have to pay as much when they're in OSCA, and like that's how the colleges are doing it, and like that's just like that's their definition of equity, is like making sure that like people are like how much they're actually spending is considered in their financial aid, when like how much they're spending is dependent on their financial aid. And then my other point was that it almost okay. So there was one part of the strategic planning like statement from 2005, I think, and I can't quote it because I don't have it in front of me, but it says that they will are committed to employing any changes in the that will honor honor the where is it?
Is it the part about network?
Honor the diversity.
Oh yeah. Okay, so honor the Willing College's commitment to diversity and accessibility, or something along those lines. Not a direct quote, but I think what honors diversity and accessibility should be defined by the students, because we're this an entire dialogue of around those terms is being perpetuated by the students, being defined by the students, redefined every year, and we cannot I don't trust anyone in the administration to be up to date on those issues, especially since I never see them at any of the conversations where those definitions and redefinitions are taking place. So maybe if we had something in the resolution about allowing students to determine whether their plans are meeting that last segment of what I was paraphrasing, that might be helpful.
John.
Oh, closest to what I was saying.
Great. You good? Okay. Julie.
Okay, so I was gonna point out this second Be It Therefore Resolved referendum thing as someone who worked with referendums a lot from SEC. One, I would say clarify what you mean by referendum. Like, do you want, because you can have a referendum that simply asks a question, but do you want it to be approved by the students in the referendum, or do you want there just to be a simple poll for the referendum? Also, a referendum for a referendum to pass or to reach quorum, it's 50% of the student body, and then for something to pass, it's 50% of that 50%. So you would be counting on a fourth of the student body to, what we're trying to say is it's only a fourth of the student body that needs to be thinking critically and engaged, and I don't know if you want to leave this question up to only a fourth of the student body, because it doesn't affect only a fourth of the student body. And also just the nature of referendums in general, it's really hard to have fully informed decisions. It's also really hard to reach that quorum. We've had this SEC referendum out for months, and we still don't have quorum, and it's really, really hard to engage the students in a meaningful way in a referendum. So thinking about a referendum is the way to do it. If that makes sense.
You can be outside.
There's fun. Yeah, I know that was something we talked about. And initially, my terminology was will not be implemented without the consent of the student body. And I think that's also kind of nebulous in terms of how do you quantify what the majority of people at the school want, but also doing so in a way that is informed and allows people access to adequate information to make informed decisions is another thing. So that's something that I'm still kind of struggling with. And I'm totally willing to change that language, but I just can't really think of what would be a solution that would reconcile with all of those issues.
So I would just say regardless of what you think of referendum, be clear if you mean passed by quorum of the referendum, or simply hold the student body and refer to that in passage of future financial aid policies. That makes sense.
What is, could you define quorum and
Yeah, so I was literally just looking this up because of the SEC one. So it's so a referendum goes until it reaches quorum, which is 50% of the student body, which is 1,498 students every year. And then once you've reached that quorum, if you want to pass something, it has to be 50% in the affirmative of that 50%. So you would need, say there was a question about financial aid policy, you would need half of, whatever that number that I just gave you, 1,000 something, to say yes. Or half of them to say no.
Okay. So the half means when you say reaching quorum, but 50% of the student body is voting on something?
Yes, 50% has to vote, and
Okay.
then 50% of those 50%, whatever the majority of that decision is the school.
Okay. But I didn't see on side next.
Maybe in terms of the resolution part where you're talking about increased transparency, maybe include the idea of having some forums with someone representing the administration, just a thought. Or having them host forums about potential policy changes.
Yeah, I had myself on staff. But okay, so on kind of a different line of questioning. So in like your third from the bottom, whereas you talk about how like OSCA needs to remain independent, and like I haven't really thought of this when all this is going on, but like how is the organization of OSCA going to change? Like, is it going to be incorporated into CDS now, or is it just going to stay? Like, how is that even going to work? Do you guys know?
It's going to be turned into a work-study program. Yeah.
So
it's like you get kind of like when you work in like mud, but like a college work-study program. So you get compensated for the amount of hours you put in with college money.
So it's basically like being in a co-op is like having a job on campus.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you?
Just more specific.
Yeah.
There's been talk, but no confirmation, about having some sort of voucher for people who are in OSCA that is based on like Ohio minimum wage. As it is, the savings are like well above minimum wage for many reasons. First of all, like it's
You mean the savings like in being in OSCA versus CDS?
Yeah. It's like they're not the same. They're not this like. What's the word?
Like the number of hours that you put in doesn't equal.
No, like OSCA and CDS like aren't the same quality or like in a lot of different. They're not the same service, and it's like yeah. Also, the voucher would amount to roughly $1,000, somewhere around $1,000 for people in dining, and a little bit more for people in housing and dining. And compared to the $5,000 to $6,000 savings that you, or like decrease in cost that it is now, it's like not even close.
If it's becoming a work study program, does that mean that OSCA is now inaccessible to anyone without work study? Because that seems very un-OSCA as well.
Oh, actually, I don't know the answer to that. Isn't everybody eligible for college work study? Is that not true?
No.
Well, it's just a preference thing. If you have work study, you get preference, no?
No.
A lot of work study programs are volunteer only unless you specifically have work study, and then you get paid for it. So like America Reads and America Counts or Teachers or whatever it is are volunteer positions, and then if you have work study, you get compensated for those. But that would mean that anyone without work study in OSCA would not even get that 1,000 or whatever.
Well, those are all federal work study positions.
Okay, so these
There's a
would be
difference.
college work study?
Great. Like
Okay.
federal work study is a fund that comes from the government that like
Right,
that,
right.
obviously and college work study is like a specific like college pool of money that like you get to work. But I also don't like I feel like this is also not. I mean, this is like also part of the whole lack of transparency thing is that like I think a lot of people just don't know how exactly this is going to play out, including myself.
Community members that aren't in the college who currently are allowed to eat in OSCA, have they been addressed at all in this? Do we know? Cool. Just wondering. Right, but if OSCA is becoming work study based, then that would hint that some level of accessibility has been dropped for people who aren't on college work study, like, you know, or aren't preferenced by college work study, which would be very different from how the program works right now, from what I understand.
Anders, did you want to say something further?
I did, but I forgot what it was.
Okay, well, let me read it. Go ahead.
Okay, I pulled up the email that was sent to the ASCA membership, sort of explaining how ASCA would work under these changes, if you want me to read, an excerpt from that. What was that?
You can totally read an expert. Would you mind forwarding that?
Sure.
If you just do senators at Oberlin, that'll send it all of us.
Okay, so, I haven't totally like looked through to figure out which part is like the most relevant, but, okay, it looks like, okay, they are, sorry. I've come to understand the policy as follows. Beginning next year, students who qualify for financial aid will potentially have the equivalent of the savings you get by joining ASCA deducted from their financial aid package, effectively rendering ASCA and the college room and board plan the same price. They are considering a policy where students who live and dine in ASCA will see their savings decrease from the current $5,772 to approximately $1,400, and students who eat, blah, 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 okay. These savings result from the 5 hours of work members of co-ops put in each week, amounting to the savings amount rate of $25 an hour. So I think that was in reference to like the old policy. The college's proposed 1,400 and 900 additions to students' financial aid packages would instead give co-op members savings at the minimum wage rate of $7.95 an hour. So my understanding of it is that it's not like literally work study. It's like sort of this is being added onto your financial aid package as like sort of like the equivalent of like a stipend, as if you were working a 5-hour per week job at minimum wage. That's my impression.
Clarifying question.
Yeah.
I'm guessing. Who's that from? Is that from?
It's from Catherine Perdue, the president of ASCA. It's sent from the ASCA email account.
So they've been having conversations
With, yeah, it looks like after meeting with Michelle Brooks, someone from Financial Aid, Dean Estes, and Director of Financial Aid, Rob Reddy. And then, so those were the people that she was consulting, I guess, about this.
Oh. So, I have myself on stack. So just that answer to my question sounds like there are a lot of like issues of student equity in that itself. Would you guys want to like look into that a little more and like maybe add some language about that to this?
Concerning the integrity of
like
ASCA?
Like I think your statement about ASCA needing to like stay independent is very important, but I think the idea of turning ASCA into this like radically different thing of like this weird like work study thing, like a lot of that just sounds kind of funky to me, and since it seems like you guys don't have that information, like no one seems to have that information, so I think it'd be really beneficial like look in it more and like look into it more, and I'm totally willing to help you guys with that. Sorry, clarifying question and then anyways.
Does this mean that ASCA money just goes directly to the college now? Is that what I'm to understand? Or it still goes, ASCA is still maintained as a separate organization in Maine?
I can directly respond to that.
Yeah.
So ASCA, this only would affect, ASCA is still ASCA. This would only affect students with financial aid who are in ASCA. It's just a change to the financial aid given to the students in ASCA, but everyone's like still paying the same amount to be in ASCA.
Yeah, we don't have their numbers, but the majority of ASCAns are financially, so it's pretty much an issue that affects. It is an issue that affects the majority of ASCAns. And for anyone who doesn't really like get how this might affect ASCA, in talking to a lot of people in student leadership in ASCA, it is pretty clear that ASCA will not be able to function if these policies are put into play, because ASCA depends on the financial benefit depends on the price difference for people to like be willing to put in that much work, and while the average ASCAN puts in 5 hours a week, there are people who put in much more time into that, like upwards of 20 hours a week, and there's no detailed information about how that would be taken into account in the work study type program. The amount of ASCANs that can afford to be in ASCA under these new policies is not nearly enough to do everything that needs to happen now, just like in order to maintain the 8 co-ops that we have, in order to like have people in HLEC and DLEC positions and like elect members to OSCA and to pay for the employees, like the non-student employees that work for OSCA that we pay their salary. Like it won't work. Maybe like 100 or 200 people would, out of the 615 that OSCA is now, would be able to be in OSCA, and that's simply not enough to function. So OSCA might have to play that.
I don't have anyone else on the staff. Does anyone have any comments? I mean, I think we talked about a lot of like really awesome like little changes to this and like had like a really good discussion about this. So maybe we should talk about assuming that we are able to like penetrate the general faculty meeting, like maybe we can move this into a discussion of like if we want to support this. How do you guys feel about that?
That's a procedural question. Are we allowed to e-vote on this? So non-appointments.
I think it's just appointments that we can't.
I do appointments or SFC, yes.
Okay.
For the resolutions.
So in that case, like, let's talk about it, and if it comes to the point where it's like, there's not enough, like you wanna, I guess I'd be there like passing it with like changes that we made, but if people aren't comfortable with that, we can always vote on it before general faculty, rather than discuss like,
Can I ask a good procedural question? Regarding like the student senate presence within the general faculty meetings, like if any of y'all have ever done that, what does like proposing a resolution entail? I guess I'm just confused. Like you go there and like what happens next? Like you give this to them, and is it like the same type of gig? Like they ask questions and then like vote to endorse it, or ask people to change it, or like I don't know.
In terms of bringing a proposal in, the other thing we could do it on site, but that's the kind of thing we should have to get in contact with our guests beforehand. We could e-vote on this, and if you guys want to contact us, senators at oberlin.edu, I think everyone has access to it, and should be just send an email out to all of us. So yeah, if you want to make a little of changes we talked about, or just like talk to us about like what it should look like. I think we can do some groundwork.
Then we see Eric in the next like couple of days.
Possibly.
Okay. Okay. Oh yeah. So I should give him a We'll go from there.
Yeah, if you guys could maybe get us another edit of it before the general faculty meeting Wednesday, that'd be great. And we'll see if maybe we can bring it up somehow. I doubt it would get passed there because they probably also want a chance to look over it and potentially want more time than we had today. Because it is the general faculty, and if they voted in support of this resolution, that would completely override the policy. So I think they'd want to take a lot of time before doing that. But yeah, I'd be glad to take it and even possibly bring it up at the meeting and say that we supported this resolution as a Senate and as the representative body of Oberlin College students. You know, this is significant.
Yeah. Aaron?
I think honestly it'd be crucial to have like some kind of faculty sponsor. In addition, if we're going to talk about this in general faculty, like for us to propose it is one thing, but if we have like faculty members that are like willing to stand up and say like I support this, or like even willing to like propose it themselves, I think that would be a game changer.
Yeah, direct response to that. I mean, I don't know if it's a stretch, but Mark Bates, who's the vice president of finance,
finance is sort of related, and he's very, very receptive to student needs. He's been like very easy to get in touch with and make meetings with if he feels it's a priority, which I think he might, given the circumstances, think this is a priority. And I believe either him or Ron Watts, who is the president of finance, who's really hard to get in touch with, but who talks to Mark Bates, would be another good avenue. So if Eric Estes is unavailable, I would talk to Mark Bates. And I think he would be willing to, he's probably going to take me, he cares me for this, but he's great. And I think he might be, I'm not sure, he's leaving, so Mark Bates is the guy to talk to, really. He's not going to leave, but he's like the one who's on it right now.
Does anyone want to email either the people that Julie said, or should we kind of put them on? I just, a matter of getting contact info.
Yeah, I guess I just wanted to express desire for student senate to get involved in any way that they can, as this obviously affects the majority, directly affects the majority of Oberlin students, and financially and directly affects every Oberlin student in a lot of other ways. It seems like, because I am not getting paid to do this, I'm spending pretty much every hour of my working day working on organizing, and I'd appreciate people who have experience, more experience than I do, more resources and familiarity with resources, the ability to bring groups together in ways that I don't, and other people who have been putting in time and this don't, because it seems like we're being asked to do a lot, and if you're not convinced of the gravity of these changes, please talk to me about it. People, some of the most important voices at Oberlin, the voices that make Oberlin what it is, are going to be turned away with these policies. So please let me know if you need direction or need convincing.
Well, can we make a task force kind of thing with 2 or 3, I don't know if task forces, of 2 or 3 senators to work with work directly with you all, if people are interested in that,
I just wanted to say quickly that I would be interested in that. I'm going to be at the meeting tonight, and I would like to get involved. So I can't say a lot more because I have to be taking notes about what I'm saying right now, but I'm definitely interested in getting my task force or helping in everything.
Me too.
Yeah. Do you create a task force, or can you just take a list of interested students, interested senators?
Could be another area.
Another thing, another info. Wow. Let's do another. Okay. Should we write people down who are interested and then send out an email? Okay. So with people, do you want to?
Yeah, just a quick note because it's relevant.
Okay.
At the meeting at the CAT, there is probably going to be a smaller group discussion about involvement with students in it. So if people are planning on going to that, there's going to be a list of people involved, and you can definitely join that table.
Awesome. Okay, so people who said they're interested, could you raise your hand or something? So Zia, Cho, Emma, and myself. Awesome. Did you have something to say more, or did you just Okay, great. Awesome. I don't have anyone else on staff. Does anyone else have more to say? So it sounds like we have the task force. We're doing that so we can work with you guys on making these edits and doing everything we can. Yeah. Is there anything else?
Could you just repeat these names that you have for the minutes?
Absolutely. Zia, Hope, yourself, Emma, Aaron, and then Nadia.
For all of you, I'm going to email you. There's a list of faculty members I compiled based on former organizing experiences who've been known to be behind students on this kind of thing. And if you guys, any of you have working relationships with these faculty members and want to email them directly and maybe we could like make a template email that you can send like, hey, this like you probably heard this is an issue and we'd love to talk with you more about like supporting this. That would be really cool. I'll email it and do that.
Awesome. I saw Jesse in the back first, and then you can go. So Jesse.
I'm sorry if I'm out of it, but the general faculty council meeting, that's something that really only senators can go to, or is that something that students can, regular folks?
Civilians.
Actually, okay, so I remember this being brought up before, and from what I understand, I think it like really only senators go. I think students, like they said that there was nothing keeping students from coming, but students don't come. Like they are not given information about it, and like, yeah, if you.
And this is literally just remembering the same instance.
Yeah.
But from what I think it was Dean Estes said, students are not technically allowed, but there's also rarely do people check if like you're a senator or not. But also if 50 students show up, it's going to be pretty obvious that they are not senators. So technically no students are not allowed from what Dean Estes said.
I would love a second opinion.
Yeah, I can. I'll email Dean Estes and ask him because I think that was the conversation happened with. So I will confirm that.
Is there anyone else you could ask? Because Dean Estes is one of the authors of the emails that we all the email we all received, and at this point, I'm not sure that it's in his best interest to say that we're allowed to be here.
Yeah, I completely agree with that, but I also think that Dean Estes wouldn't tell us wrong information, but I will definitely get a second opinion. Okay, Jesse?
I also think it would be worth it if, if Sarah has a list of faculty who you think might be receptive to talking about these things, if in a conversation with some of them, what do you think? Could some students come? Because it's also the general faculty council, so it's like the council of faculty rather than the sort of administrators meeting. It's the faculty who are in charge of this meeting. So I think they might be the ones to ask.
Absolutely. I have you on staff, and then clarifying question jump stack, so.
Oh, it wasn't clear.
Okay, then.
Oh, did you have a clarifying question?
I actually did.
Oh, okay.
Sarah. Is one of the faculty members on that list, just this is random, is one of them Chris Howell?
Yes, he's top of the list, in fact.
Okay. Great. I have a class with him on Tuesday.
You want to talk to him?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's like pivotal.
Yeah, he's great.
Cool.
Is Tina Swigert?
She's not a faculty.
She's not a faculty member.
She's on the student.
Is she on the GFC though? Or she's on
I
faculty?
think student life committee has some sort of position on it.
Tina doesn't go to general faculty.
Yeah. If you know of any more, this is just my working list, but obviously, like, it's not limited to. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I haven't really clarified my question. I don't mean to take up too much space, but when talking to faculty members, it's to ask if they're in support of the resolution.
Yeah, I was to maybe just like start a dialogue so it won't kind of blindside that they can have like a consciousness going into the room of like what this is all about and where we're coming from in this, and to build kind of alliances based on that, in my opinion.
Yes, you're on time.
Okay, so this is I guess it could be a clarifying question about the general faculty council meetings. Are they, like, is that for, like, tenure faculty? Is that, like, which faculty members are there? Is it, like, any faculty, or? Yeah, sure.
I'm looking at the, it's on Blackboard, though I don't know how to get to it. I Googled it. There's the Oberlin College Faculty Guide, and on page 7, there is, or starting on page 6, it describes faculty organization and general faculty meetings, so I'm currently working through that. But from the sounds of it, all faculty, presidents, deans, and certain designated general administrators are members of the college faculty. So this is for college arts and sciences, all faculty, members in the Conservatory of Music, deans, certain designated administrators of the Conservatory of Music are members of the conservatory faculty. General faculty is entrusted with the internal affairs of the college. I'm trying to make sense of this, sorry. But your information's in there somewhere.
Okay.
So,
But it's like any faculty hours, or have folks been to these meetings before?
it's general faculty. It's like a specific definition, and certain positions fall into it.
Okay.
And certain don't.
Okay.
A lot of people don't tend to go. I think a lot more people are members than tend to go. It's in rooms in King, one of the bigger ones, but that does not accommodate every single faculty member. The school department heads tend to be there, and then people on committees tend to be there.
Aaron.
Just out of curiosity, who's on your list?
What?
Who's on your list? So we could say more talking about.
Chris Howell, Lori McMillan, Wendy Kozel, Sylvia Watanabe, non-tenure Angela Wu, Bernard Matamo, Afia Flori-Mensa, and then Glenn Podas, Gillian Johns, Adenike Sharpley, Carolyn Jackson-Smith, Gina Perez, Clovis White, Meredith Gadsby, Jan Cooper, Nanette Yanuzi, Macias, John Pearson, Meredith Gadsby, of course, Pablo Mitchell, Kim Fowler, Mohammed Mahalati, Carol Lasser, Jeff Pence, Gregor Matson, Renee Romano. Any other suggestions? Kazim Ali.
And she sent that to us.
Oh, cool.
Lynn.
Oh, good.
She's not actually. And she's also.
Really? Okay. So does anyone else have more comments? I think we have a lot of things that we're gonna do. Are you guys ready to move on? Oh, I was just gonna say, are you guys ready to move on, because we have a lot of things that we said we were gonna do, and sorry for the discussion.
I just wanted to say that just because students aren't allowed inside the meeting itself doesn't mean that a student present can't be shown around the time and area of the meeting, and I think that might be something we want to be cognizant of.
Okay, so let's move on to relocation of student health. Is that easier?
That is me.
Go.
Okay, so I got a somewhat strange email from Dean Estes this morning, who I've been talking to a lot this semester about student health reform. And he sent me an email essentially saying that if people are interested in relocating the health center and counseling center to a more accessible location, now is the time to push that initiative. So I guess I just want to see what is student interest in that.
Okay, so I saw Robert first, you were on staff, you keep your hand up, I'll write you down. Okay, go, Robert.
Zia, if you haven't emailed it to John, can you email it to me and I'll forward it?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, Robert, or Sarah.
I was just gonna say I'm very, very strongly in favor of that. The one thing we may or may not want to consider is a move from that building will take us further from the hospital, and student health does not do blood draws. So anyone who gets their blood draws ordered from student health, it will be a bit more of a hassle, but overall I'm just completely in favor.
So this is something we've discussed a number of times over the past 2 years in my experience working with student health and the counseling center. Major upsides of it is, one, obviously it makes it more convenient, more accessible to students. Two, it shows that we place a great importance on student health and student mental and physical wellness. One of the big downsides that people have brought up in the past is the fact that it is so far just kind of in General West and far away from everything else, is that provides a degree of anonymity for people who are visiting, especially the counseling center, but student health as well. And that degree of anonymity may remove some of the stigma or difficulty going there for a lot of people. That is an issue to consider. I also have not previously thought of what Sarah said, which is they work more accurately Mercy Island a lot, and so being close to that location physically can be beneficial. I can't think of a solution to that, but one of the solutions I've heard that worked out really well for the problem of anonymity is something Mount Holyoke did, which was they had their student health and wellness building in the same building as their career center, And it was very plausible if you were going in there, you were just going to Career Center. So if we're gonna make it central, trying to kind of set something up that can provide that extra degree of anonymity to people, because I think some people really, really value that. Because there is still stigma around this, no matter how much we try to avoid it being a thing.
Okay, Emma.
Okay, I have a question. Is this also like this, student health resources, like HIV cure testers and so on and so forth? Because I know that somebody in HIV cure testers has been known to me, and like I couldn't do anything about it, that it's like a very bad location, like they're right next to a meditation room. Apparently the walls in Wilder are very thin, and so people were hearing people's HIV test result, which is obviously not ideal, and they would very much like that moved.
Huh.
Robin's exactly. Do you have an answer if that is like part of student health, or would be part of like affected by the move in any way?
I think that too.
No,
did you?
No, I don't, I'm sorry.
All I know is that I'm on the rooms allocations committee where we doing all the rooms in Wilder through student organizations, even though HIV peer testers is not technically a student organization. And we are relocating that room away from the meditation room. Yeah, so that that's all. That's
Okay, I had myself on Zach next. So do you know if this is something that he was asking, kind of, if like that he would want like in this like the referendum? Maybe that's our next discussion topic. But like, would putting a question about this in the referendum maybe would that be like a good idea?
I think.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that'd be a great idea. I'm kind of like, I'm just a bit lost because I just got this email today and me and Dean Estes had not talked about this in the past, so I'm a bit out of loop in terms of information about asking them to relocate the health center. In terms of, I can read it in like, if people are interested. Okay. Dear Zia, I don't know what you found on this issue, but if students want the counseling center's student health center moved closer to the central campus, now is the time to push on this issue. Let's meet this week. Best hair.
Whoa, that's so weird.
Right? Like,
I mean, I would guess that has to do with the addition of Oberlin in, because with that, they're moving a lot of things around, and like the whole concept of that is breaking, like loosening up space on campus. So like for instance, moving admissions from Carnegie was like, that's gonna kind of restructure the space in that building. So that's probably why this is a really good topic right now. Rachel, Sarah.
Yeah, I wanted to support this because like I feel like student health is so far from where most students live. Like I've been really sick and had like a hard time walking there if you don't have a car. I feel like that's like an accessibility issue unless they're going to provide transportation. So that, and then I heard that it was going to be moved to Wilder, which hopefully would take some of the stigma away from at least like walking into the building. I guess where the room is in Wilder is a different story. But yeah, I guess we could clarify where we move to.
Definitely put me on the meeting because I've talked to him about this a number of times. I've talked to student health previously too, and they seem pretty down for the idea. Though they are also very mindful of the confidentiality issue that may exist. So, yeah. Boot me in on that, Zia.
Yep.
And Sarah.
I was just wondering if you wanted to like shoot off a quick like Google survey to students as soon as possible to like what? To get general feels on like confidentiality versus location. Like ask how important confidentiality is, scale 1 to 6. How important, it's Google Forms. How important accessibility is 1 to 6. Because if we're able to move it in the first place, there might also be the ability to like split up the counseling center and student health, which most people that I feel, and I can only really speak for myself on this. I mean, the stigma for me at least is much less for going to student health because I feel like everyone winds up there at least once a year eventually, whereas the counseling center people might feel more private about it. So if we can split those up and that way being sick and dying and not being able to walk to student health is very different from wanting confidentiality when you go to the counseling center. And if there's no reason for them to be in the exact same location.
I have Robert and Zach next.
So I'm on the student health advisory committee with Zia and Peter, and I know we've talked a bit about keeping it there because Oberlin actually serves, I'm pretty sure it's 22% of the student body goes to the student health center as compared to the national average of 8%. So we actually do really well with it there. But there has been other discussions of having like an office in Wilder, which is maybe what we will mention. It's not a full counseling center, but like an office of like where students can go to get a cold checked or what, like a health issue. So I don't know if you guys wanted to think of pushing for that also.
I guess in the conversation around where student health and the counseling center will be located, let's keep in mind that we can do things to reduce the stigma around like having going to the counseling center, and we don't have to just write it off as necessary. We can work to change the culture in institutional ways. Not to forget that, because that would be really helpful. I mean, you said 22% versus 8%, but what percent of students feel like they require health services compared to what percent actually go?
I have myself on Slack next. So in going forward with this, and this is kind of a fair question. So what he wants is feedback on if students would be in favor of a change. Cool. So a possible way we could go at this is obviously us saying we would be in favor of a change doesn't mean that whatever suggestion they come back with is going to be what we want. So a way we can maybe approach this is put a question about this in the referendum, say and we could even bullet point listening to the discussion. I have a couple ideas of how you could bullet point a question to ask those more nuanced questions, moving student health to more central location could increase the publicity of who is attending student health, things like that. And then if this actually gets any traction, we can deal with where it would go. Does that sound like?
I think it's that referendum too.
Yeah, I would be super into that. Okay, I don't have anyone else on staff. Does anyone have any more comments on this? Cool. So I will look into getting a question for the referendum, and if you the referendum will be launched. I'm hoping after our discussion tomorrow. But Anders, whoever is involved with this, if any of you want to talk to me about shaping that question, Zia, obviously, please do that after the meeting, and then we can do that. Did you have a comment there?
Yeah, and also I think it would be important to mention this conversation to both self-campus liaisons because they represent a group of students that just have issues with what you're talking about, and perhaps different issues than the ones we've been discussing.
Cool. So moving on, referendum update. So really quickly, I sent out a live what the live survey is gonna look like with all of the questions. Everybody get that and like was able to look at it and all that. Cool. If you don't, I can try and resend it. I sent out earlier this week the dates and confirmed times and locations for all of the forums, which is really exciting that we got that. And I'm going to be working with the outreach coordinators this week to try to publicize those and hopefully get a bunch of responses to the referendum like right out of the gate, because that'd be really great. So something we've talked about with outreach is how sending out just like one mass email isn't necessarily the best way to get a good like diverse group. So I was gonna ask, now that we have the forum times nailed down, if anyone who's here has is involved in a relevant organization or like thinks that they would be interested, if they could send out those dates like straight to the organizations, that would be awesome. And if anyone, I pretty much have the tobacco policy forum forum, like the setup of that laid out, but for the other two, I'm still working on this. So if you have any like ideas or comments or concerns about how the House Senate will better represent me or student health forum will be run, we're talking about that soon. And then really quickly before we get into the discussion of the questions, I wanted to bring up the idea of senators doing a week of tabling to in MUD to plug the referendum and get people to do it. So we could basically just like, what I was thinking we could do is set up like a 30-minute, hour-long like time slotted and like have a few of those throughout the week. I picked out a week. It would have to be reading period. So the 3 forums, that's 3 weeks, a series of 3 weeks, and then the next week is reading period, and then the next week is finals, and then we're done. Like that's it for the semester. So there's really like not another time. And I was thinking of kind of doing the time slots so like I could cover all of them, and then just as like a backup, so like it wouldn't be like a burden on you guys. But would you all be willing to like do like 30 minutes to a half hour, 30 minutes to an hour of like tabling and MUD towards in like a couple weeks, and I'll have more information about time slots and everything. Do you want to speak to that?
I'd be happy to help, but usually schedule all based on your schedule, because you shouldn't have to do all of this.
Well, I'm not saying like do all of them. I just mean like be backup. But,
But if you're like a definite backup and finals are right there, like I don't know. It's also finals for you too, so you should have to check about yourself.
Great, thanks guys. Can we do like general feelings on that?
Yeah.
Yes.
Where can I access those referendum questions?
I sent an email and I like shared it with everybody.
On Drive?
On the Twitter. It was like 6 minutes.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, you did.
I sent them all out. It was really frustrating. Because last time when it was just shared with senators, that was like you had to log onto that email to view it. So I went through and picked out everyone. Okay. Well, I don't know why that happened. Let me. Okay, let me figure out how to reshare it. Sorry about that, guys. So while I'm doing that, that's pretty much all I have other than discussing the questions and getting them ready to send out tomorrow. So while I'm doing that, if anyone wants to start discussion on that, we can go ahead with that. So on the questions, for people who did have access, if we want to go ahead and start discussing while I get the rest of this shared.
So yeah, I have some like kind of technical stuff.
That's totally fine.
Okay. Should I wait till you're sharing them so you can also look at your...
Yeah, also, if you guys all log on to the Senate email, you can view it there. It's just spring referendum and it's in Google Docs. So if you guys want to do that instead of me trying to figure out how to share this again, is that cool?
I got some Word.
There we go.
Yeah.
Does anyone else?
Recording.
Yeah, thank you so much. Okay, do you have comments?
So, for the question about the Senate retreats, I was wondering if you could specify your, what that means for people who don't know, like what a required Senate leadership retreat is, like basically that's like us getting to know each other, talking about things informally. But I feel like that deserves some specification, because like if you weren't at one, and you don't know like anything about it, it might be a little confusing, like why am I on this?
Yeah, absolutely. As you can see in other questions, there's like a place to put in just like additional information. So I would be happy to clarify that. Would you want to just say like, would saying like Senate retreats are usually like evening engagements geared towards like getting to know each other and like things like that, and are like informal, like no Senate businesses.
Yeah.
Is that?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, I can add that and get that language to you so you can.
Also, if somebody doesn't answer, are there required questions?
Yes. The only required questions are like your general information. Like we have to have like we have to have T number and username to like authenticate that people aren't double responding. Do you have like do you want to go stack or do you want to? Yeah.
You just set it to catch the username, so it doesn't matter.
Say again?
There's a checkbox at the bottom, I think you can set it to associate a username with the person's response. Slash to edit their response.
I do. It says that I have it so that people can edit responses, but I don't see anything that says anything about like. There's show link to submit another response and publish and show link to results, and then allow responders to edit responses, and those are my only.
Okay, that's double useful. Sorry.
If you want to talk to me after,
It's at the top. Automatic response.
Wow.
But name would be fine too. Like.
Yeah, I'll put it. So, how would you guys feel about doing T number and then just like your name? Well, actually, I actually was looking at old referendums, and I specifically decided against doing name because I don't want this to feel like, all right, what's your name? Tell us this, tell us that, like. So if we can automatically collect the respondent's college username, I would be in favor of completely taking out the username question and just do T number, college conservatory, and then like the last question. Okay, really quickly, do you guys feel good about that change?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Peter.
One thing is the fewer questions we have on here, the more people are going to be willing to do it really quickly.
Right.
So if we can cut stuff down, that's probably the idea.
I would love to cut some questions down, and if you guys have ideas on how to make the question, like ideas of questions to cut out or ways to make like combine them or make it better, that would be awesome.
For the two background policy section, I remember there was like one question saying like, do you approve of this, and then another one saying like, do you agree with like the specific like piece part of that? And since we're gonna, I talked to Marco today about like the bullet points that would be for that question, and they would just include e-cigarettes. The fact that e-cigarettes would be permitted in part of that first question on tobacco, and then we would only need like 2 for that section, so 3. So you could remove the question on e-cigarettes.
Wait, you say include that e-cigarettes aren't included in the bullet points of the first question and then remove the second question entirely?
Like why does it need to be its own question if it's part of the policy itself?
Well, the reason that I had it as a separate question originally was because the inclusion of e-cigarettes was a contentious issue, and originally they were included in the policy, but as per student response, people were really against having it in the policy, and so it was removed. But there's been a lot of back and forth, and so that was like a specific part of the policy that this policy is a revision. Like there's something is going to be put in place to update what the old policy was, whatever it is. And to the this is one particular issue where we do have a little bit of leeway in we could say we would like it this way instead of this way, and things like that. And so
Because Chapin's is also a point like that, which is address there, and I think Duncan said to sort of do like a bullet point in the first one, so, okay, well, I guess.
But I would also, if the referendum like is looking too long, I think that would be like a really pertinent question to cut.
It just seems like a way to streamline it, since there will be other bullet points there. I mean, I'm on like the committee, so currently these grants are not going to be contributed, so that's like how it is right now. But I guess if there's like a reason that people would want it to be a separate question, that's also fine.
Okay, I'm totally fine with removing it. Maybe I can talk to Maka and you guys
Yeah.
can later and
I mean,
figure it out.
he was gonna do the bullet points anyway, so like, I was just bringing it up because I thought we could remove that question. But yeah, I'm sure he would have something to say about it too.
Yeah, I'd be totally open to that.
Just a quick thing, well, few things, but under the student senate general policy question, changing the last question on that to something like, if yes, what are topics would you like to see covered, or what other topics you might like to see covered? Because that right now it stands it doesn't make sense. Okay? It says like
Oh,
what are
yeah,
topics
sorry, that's
you
just a
might-
typo.
Yeah, so that's just
Okay, I'll fix the typo.
What else? I guess this goes against the idea of like streamlining it more, so we can talk about this before anything. When I was looking at the how informed are you about the Senate elections and the candidates, I feel like those are two different questions.
Yeah, I was thinking about that too.
Like how do you know who the candidates are, like all that. But there's also a matter of like when you're trying to run for Senate, how the hell do you do that? Are you informed about that? So I mean, I guess that's kind of like not what we're talking about, but like also I think that's an important change.
Absolutely, I really agree with that, and the way the reason I had it kind of like that is because I was worried about streamlining, but like I was really concerned that they'd be two different questions.
And also for like holding candidate debates, I don't know if you've done that in the past, like I'd be down for that too. But you could also say, in addition to that, perhaps like another meeting candidate tonight, because that was kind of like a sort of show like mingling opportunity, and if that was better publicized for future senators.
Yeah. Would you want to put that instead of holding candidates meet or like in addition to?
In addition, that'd be fine. Yeah, I mean, if people really want to do a debate, then we'll do a debate.
Yeah. That's kind of more what I had in mind anyway, but I threw it debate. But yeah, word.
And then I've been talking a lot, so a lot of people will go if they have anything.
Actually, really quick before we get off that, so in terms of the Senate elections, like how informed you felt question, do you guys, if I could just like hear from fellow senators, like do you guys feel like that is an important enough question to like really break that out? And like if so, how would you, like how many questions do you think I should put in there? Like,
Wait, which one is this?
so in the first question, how Senate can better represent me, Aaron brought up the Senate elections and like knowing who the candidates are, kind of two different questions. So yeah, do you guys have any ideas on how that could be, how much we should break that out, or?
I don't know if it's related.
Yeah, you
I don't think it's related, but I know that one of the issues that was brought up earlier in the year about the Senate elections was that like it wasn't enough time, or that like people felt that they were like rushed and they didn't know about these things until it was too late. So I think maybe like I don't know how you this is a question, but like do you, I guess this would fit into how do you feel about informed about it, but like
you can say the timeline. Do you feel the timeline is appropriate?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, if I broke that question out into maybe like, how informed did you feel about the Senate election process? We could say like informed about it, and then we can ask about the timeline, and then maybe we could ask about like how. Would it be relevant to ask like how informed about the candidates did you feel? Because I guess that's like the second part of that first question.
I mean, like, just like, I don't know, sort of like we do give like blurbs of the candidates, but like, if there's ways to increase sort of candidate visibility, so you know like who's being like voted for. I mean, when I was a first year, I think I voted in the spring semester. I didn't bother with the fall semester because I didn't know anything about other people were. But like, I don't know, just ways to publicize candidates better. I think would be helpful.
Yeah, I feel like that could. I really like the phrasing use candidate visibility because like that could also feed into a little bit like how. Like, do you feel like student senators are like present in the student body?
Yeah, that's true.
So I don't know if that'd be like I don't know. I think that's a great question. So from that, if we did just like the Senate election process, how informed you were, asking about the timeline, and then maybe a question about candidate visibility. Anderson,
Been any progress on Senator Field's suggestion about including something in bylaws that basically states that Student Senate encourages people from all different backgrounds to apply, specifically like people that are historically underprivileged, underrepresented. Has anyone actually thought about that at all?
I mean, I'm really in favor of that, but I think that's something that I remember when that came up. Someone said like, "Yeah, I could put together some language on that," and then I don't remember hearing anything after. But I don't remember who that was, but we can definitely find out and see what the progress on that is.
I don't remember anybody actually volunteering, but I think like that's an important thing like into resolution and passing. Does anyone want to in that?
I mean, I'd be happy to. We should that'd probably be something that Ari and Kiki would want to be involved with, so we might want to wait until, or like, we can like do an email or like wait until. Wow, great. So would someone be willing to like contact them and just like let them know that this came up at Plenary and that it would be an awesome thing to maybe bring up in their working group? I resigned. Yeah.
So, yeah, we can talk about it.
Yeah.
We got there to break the.
Oh, really?
I mean, you don't have to. I'm saying like have some like basic writing.
That sounds great. Okay, back to the referendum. So if I change that question that we were just talking about, the first question, and how Senate can better represent me, and break it out into the three things I just talked about, the informed about the election, timeline appropriateness, and the candidate visibility, does that sound good to you guys? Great. I will send the language for those specific questions since they are different as soon as I get them done before I send out the email so everybody sees them and like feels good about it.
Under the general administration, so I feel like the question in the May like best contractor bid,
yes,
was, or at least the way that we talked about it after like Agent Miller, was not so much necessarily unionized labor, although that can be a question too, but also like local labor and like a commitment to local labor.
Okay.
And like those networks that don't receive any like, support like reached out to by the college companies. So like I'm probably gonna like use union labor or maybe but like I think it's important to talk about local labor in addition to that. And then my second is this is kind of like a question. I don't know. Is there any way that you want to sort of flesh out the financial aid question mark? It's like it says that does the recent change to Oberlin's financial aid / guidance policy affect your ability to attend and afford Oberlin College? And I think that's a huge question that needs to be on there. But I also feel like there's other questions that we can ask about this policy. I could be wrong, but I think like this is a good opportunity.
In addition to?
In addition to.
Okay.
A good opportunity to like, poll students. So I wanted to bring that up for question too.
It might be good to have someone take notes about that specific question at the meeting tonight, because I don't remember specifically, but there were at least 2 instances where like a poll of student of the student body would have been really, really helpful.
Yeah, I would love to do that. Those 2 questions, since they've come up recently, I haven't been able to get in touch with people I need to talk to about those. So I kind of pulled those out of like my own understanding, but I've not been the most involved. So I would love to make the unionized labor question more relevant to what the conversation actually is around that. And also, especially since we've just had the financial aid dining policy change discussion, if anyone can think of other questions for that, I think that is a great idea. So does anyone have ideas for other questions that would be relevant and we could ask for that? General administration, it's the very last section, and we're talking about those questions.
Personally, one of the main reasons I chose Oberlin was because it was my cheapest option, but that was only because I knew that I could save money, save $6,000 by being in OSCA, and I was willing to put in that, to make that sacrifice. So maybe showing the administration just how many people, the old policy was like important to in deciding to come here, and how that might reflect on prospective students' decisions.
So maybe how big of a factor was like Oberlin's, OSCA / other dining options availability in your choosing Oberlin? Like, is that the kind of question you're trying to ask?
Maybe something along the lines of like a yes or no question. Were the financial benefits of eating in a co-op, because KHC is no longer officially OSCA or OSCA affiliated, so it's important to remember. Kosher Halal Co-op.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah.
So were the financial benefits of working in a co-op, buying and preparing your own groceries, and or living off campus important in your decision to attend Oberlin? And like how much financially,
Yeah, that's great. Alright, that is awesome. Does anyone else have any other question ideas? Oh, sorry. Hey.
Yeah. So I was wondering if we could talk about public transit, and we can talk after about that if you want, or whatever. I got an email from Sharon, your student I'm working with, and she suggested asking a question about the student, about the student shopping shuttle, and I could include when it runs and stuff like that, and also if you can get you can get a special discount by using the Oberlin Connected Bus and how that operates, and then also there's a transit levy on May 6th, and I don't know. These are kind of basically ads in the form of questions, so maybe it's not proper that we put that there, but they're also really huge things. The transit levy can raise $2,000. It's adding $2 or something, $2.89 or something on property taxes or property worth $100,000, and that's per year, and it'll basically raise money for transportation by $400,000, which will then be matched by the government to make it $800,000 total. So it's a really big thing, and bring public transit back online. So really getting something on this that's kind of quick, like you can read through and like, oh, that's cool, yes, or no, or whatever. And the answer doesn't really matter as much, but it's the fact that like now you know these are options.
I think something that we pulled in is my question about sustainability on campus for the working group. Something Paul and I have been trying to do is get students' opinions on sustainability on campus. How do they feel about like our goal to reach carbon neutrality by either 2020 or 2025, depending on which document you read? Because we're not really sure about that. And so like, how do people feel about like the transition to natural gas? Like anything along those lines, I think these things really important to gain student interest. Because that's not been a process that the students have really had a voice in as far as I can tell in my 1.5 semesters here. And I think it's really important that students do get a voice and like what is heating the rooms or what is turning on the lights and whatever. Because that matters.
So, your specific, I would love to talk to you after this, but I am a little bit concerned about the length of this, and I've been asking for questions for a while, so like I'm kind of like it's really important that this goes out tomorrow. I just like really want to stress that because with the SFC referendum, I've been like in a really tight spot because it's not good for us to have 2 referendums running at the same time. First of all, it creates confusion. Second of all, like everything gets lost in the wash, and so the fact that the SFC referendum has been so drawn out and hard to get done, that's really impeded my ability to do my job for us to get our referendum out. And so I want to hear all of your comments and do a lot, like everything you guys have suggested to change sounds like awesome to me, and I'm really, really, really appreciative of your feedback. But please keep in mind that if it is at all possible, want this to go out tomorrow. So.
What is it? I thought it was going out after the forums because the language of the questions is like given the 3 forums that have happened this semester. So like I didn't think it was going out tomorrow because those forums haven't happened yet.
My point with that question is that you don't necessarily, like first of all, you can edit your responses and you don't necessarily have to fill out the referendum before you go to those. And the forums are not, so we do a forum and then we get your response. The forums, like most people we have to get a 50% response rate. Like 50% of people are not going to attend those forums. But the fact that like Student Senate is in our bylaws, it looks like we should be doing a lot of forums and we don't. And so my goal with that question is to see if students feel like forums are like a good way to discuss student issues that are going on, like a good way for Senate to interact with the student body. But also those forums hopefully will be like clarifying questions. And so yes, ideally I would rather people go to the forums and then fill out the referendum, but that's not like really realistic. And considering we have to get 50% response rate, every day that this is not sent out is less likely that we're going to be able to do that in any kind of like well done way.
So like if we're not expecting people to go to the forums before filling this out, would it make sense to change the language so that it doesn't sound like the forums are already happening that people post them?
Yeah, I don't know.
What if we put the dates on there and it's kind of like some advertising and then it's like, oh, these forums exist. And it might not be like, oh, I want to go to these forums, but it could be like, it's in the back of your mind. So if you hear about them later, you just say, okay, I've heard about these subconscious stuff. I don't know.
We could just say like forums held on those dates. Would that like address the?
Yeah, because when I was doing the referendum, I was like, oh, I guess this is going out like after we do all the forums because people will be confused as if they've already happened and they missed it.
Mm-hmm. That's a great suggestion. That's a really great suggestion. Okay. Does anyone else have comments or something?
Mine is a question about instruction on elections. What is
No.
that?
Are you talking about like switching from an STD vote system? So I thought a lot about putting that question in, and I did some research. And I looked at our bylaws, and I don't know if it says it in our constitution, but you know the whole thing about us only being able to use this one specific program?
No, it doesn't say.
Right, okay, because that was my understanding. I think that was a lot of people's understanding, and that's not true. There are actually like a lot of other programs that work really well that we can use that would do the STV, the single transferable vote, and so that it seemed like a lot of the problems that the student body had, at least in like from like what I understood, were related to the program, not necessarily the system. And due to the length of the referendum, that's kind of.
Could you talk about how easy the one-minute counter is to use compared to other? So some of the questions we used to use the one-minute counter is the easiest one, also more possible.
I raised my very hand. So we use it because it's been set up for our use. I haven't looked into other programs we could use. It is in our constitution that we do have to do the single transferable vote system. It was voted on like 5 years ago because people think it's like a very democratic process or something that a poli-sci major would understand. But essentially, you could, if there's another program out there, which there probably is, use that instead and not worry about this.
Yeah, actually, I did some research and I found 4 or 5 different programs that are like user programs. Like you were dealing with like a lot of code, right? Like you have to code things and do all that. Like these are like user programs where it's like you do settings, like you're not dealing with computer code. Like there was a Microsoft program, there were like a bunch of other things. Like I don't know how expensive they are or like what that is, but I don't think that's a question that we have enough information to ask the student body yet. Sorry, I didn't mean to.
No, that's fine. It's just word, so it's either going to be computer or code after this. So as long as
I'm not
you're not going to do it.
It's silence.
Okay, so it's going to be you that has to do this. Because so run the election because I think that everyone else is leaving and I can't do it. Or not eligible to.
No, I had to do it last time.
Eligible. So as long as you're do it. Or Jesse and Harrison and stuff.
Hey guys, can you keep on back because I can't remember what you were all saying at once and I'm like 2 people behind. Sorry about that. Thank you. Sorry to ask that. Sorry.
Okay, let's give Emma a minute. But once that's off, so who else was talking? Aaron was talking and Matthew and Hope. I don't know where you were. It was first, but talking about new services. This was your question.
I have nothing.
Okay. Aaron, there you go.
Okay. Why, just kind of like a election, like, what's terms eligibility to run the election as a term senate?
Yeah. Well, I was in the I thought that people who weren't going to vote again would not be interested. Maybe I should have made that assumption. So are you volunteering yourself?
I'd be happy to help out. I mean, I'm not going to be running again, so I'd be happy to help out. But not.
It's not very.
I was just wondering if we maybe, or you guys maybe, would consider not farming out, but maybe getting some advice from our very wonderful comp sci department, because, just kidding, they don't have any reps here, so I know many wonderful people there who might be willing to help if you ask very nicely.
Absolutely. There isn't anyone else on stack, but I was just gonna make a comment and yeah. So with that, if you have a question in mind that you want to put in here, I will work with you to do that and send it out and see what everyone thinks about it. But that's on you to either be with me to figure out or send to me. So yeah, that's my response to that.
Well, yeah, sorry.
Peter, and then.
I think.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I was just gonna say like, yeah, I would definitely, if like, it is only me, but if I will do elections. I just like definitely need some assistance. So just so like there's no, I don't want there to be any contest about like questions about like kind of what happened during this election. And I think that like yeah, I'll talk to people in the computer science department and also people like who did the election this semester and the same as last year. But yeah.
Okay, so I checked over the Senate budget, and we have a bunch of money left over, because we didn't have that many forms, and that's given by that much pizza, and also that's really all we spend money on. So everything else we budget for, we kind of didn't do. So if we find a program, we can use money to purchase that program, and thus not have to waste money segmenting students to run this program when we don't understand computer science. And thus, how many hours did it take you? It took me like probably 30 plus. A long fucking time. You had to manually count those. So basically that thing I said. Anyways.
Yeah, I mean, I also didn't want to just like put this question out and so if you guys don't think it's a good idea to change the entire thing. I was just under the impression that after what happened last time, that might be the direction we go. But if there's a better thing out there, and I didn't know about it, then we should just do that.
Well, yeah, if I can respond to that. I think that is definitely a really important thing that we need to do. I just don't know if that's relevant to the referendum. That was more my point. Like, if we have money, we can research a program and like just decide to do that as a Senate. Like maybe it might be relevant to like ask kind of an advertisement question, like saying something about it. But other than that, I don't know. Is that?
I wouldn't put anything in
Okay. I mean, we can talk more about it. But yeah. Other comments, questions, concerns. Going once, going twice.
Is there any chance you could propose a question about having a CMT training course at our school?
Yes, if you wasn't that was in the last referendum?
No. It was supposed to be, and then it ended up being on the form. There was one about the EMT service, which ended up being very healthy response. In terms of the EMT training course, that ended up being 10%.
Okay. Yes, I will look at that. If you want to send me the link on that, I'll add that. Just a quick question. So all of these changes are really awesome, but something that was brought up earlier is the link of the survey, which I think is really important. So looking at all of these changes, this is going to be a pretty long survey, which we can do. Like that is our prerogative. We can send them as long a survey as we want. But I don't know, especially since like this is like pretty time sensitive, and we probably won't get to be all together and discuss it again.
I guess like possible cuts. I'm not very good in student health, but I have a question of that. How much how necessary this question would be, which is like, would you be in favor of a year review of these hours? Do we need to have this number of student
I mean, Zia can probably speak. It's the second question in the student health section.
Or could it possibly be like put into another question?
Yeah. I mean, I guess, what's the question before that?
Do you feel the changes?
Yeah.
Why would we put those two questions together?
There's not really a way to do that. I looked and there's no way to like nest questions, which is kind of annoying. But like Zia, you can speak this too, but I actually thought that was like a really important question because like currently like the student before last year, the student health hours were just like decided, and like I think they had some kind of survey and it was done, but in the last referendum, the student body was asked how they felt about those hours and how they could be changed to work better, and so I thought this would be like those two questions would be like really important follow-up, saying like, okay, so we asked you, you said that this was better, is it actually better? And then like, the long-term question of should like these be updated by like student response.
I just figured it would be like, it would like be natural that it would be reviewed. clearly there was like a question about the accessibility of, if there's continuing questions of the accessibility of student health, I feel like they would be reviewed on that.
Reviewed, like, put in the, oh, you mean like they would automatically be in the referendum if they're, like, important topics? Or do you mean like reviewed by the administration?
Yeah, reviewed by the administration. Or they don't know that unless we.
I mean, I don't think they do. They don't, Zia, they don't do a yearly response. Like, they
No.
don't change unless there's a reason for them to change.
Okay, I just had no idea.
This is also, if I can jump on, that's
Yeah, I don't yet.
I guess direct response. Yeah, this is also an attempt just to kind of bring back just people, students have a tendency to comment on how inaccessible walk-in hours are. So this is kind of an attempt to increase dialogue between the Senate and the students in terms of alleviating that, kind of making that a budget. We kind of have talked about introducing the idea of maybe having varied walk-in hours in 1 week so they're not the same every day. But yeah, so.
I was just going to say it sets a really good precedent to have that data to say that we need to do this every year, because right now we just don't have anything saying that it has to be done every year. And maybe 1 year, like, a bunch of morning people will attend Oberlin, and it will be different. Probably not, but like the student body changes, so we should be able to make sure that's reflected yearly and not like every 4 years or however much Senate remembers to, or the administration feels like it.
It's a really small thing that we might have thought of already, but like the migrant survey that says that it's 25 minutes to complete a national report. So if you go through just see how many minutes it took you.
Yeah, absolutely. I was definitely looking at here and
Okay, so to get these student health hours changed, that was not simply just like us putting in a referendum. That took like a shit ton of work. And it wasn't even like a real change, it was a pilot thing. We're gonna see how it goes. The problem is we didn't sufficiently advertise it, nor did student health, because neither student senate nor student health is as good as you need to be to get the word out to every single student in Oberlin. That's friggin' impossible. So saying that we're gonna ask students every year isn't something that we can like make a promise on. So I think one of the things that would be worth figuring out, and I sent this to Zia and the student health I'm working on, is do you know what walk-in hours are at student health? And then saying what they actually are, and then asking people which ones did you know exist, which ones didn't you know exist, and then which ones would be best for you. And then the ones that are offered are mornings, during lunch, and then mid-afternoons, like 4 to 5. So that's basically as it appeared on our student health survey. I think some variation of that would probably be all we need. And that would definitely be a lot more informative than just, do you want us to ask you this every year?
I definitely agree with that, and my kind of thoughts of this is like, no, we can't agree that the administration will change them every year, or we'll look at that, but this was, when I asked that question, I can definitely clarify that. I was saying like a yearly review through the referendum, and I kind of went back and forth on like how explicit we should be on like what type of review it is, but like we as Senate can decide we're gonna put that in a referendum every year, like we can do that. That's really more what I was getting at, and I think if we decide to do that, the questions that you were saying would be like perfect annual additions. But that is just my opinion, so I don't know what you guys think about that. If you like it the way it is, or if we want to just go more towards like a kind of like add question.
Could we at least ask you to do hours?
We can. That's been asked in like that was asked in the last referendum and one before, and again, like I'm like a little bit concerned about questions, so I would be in favor of putting that in just as long as we're conscious of how long it is already. What I can do is after I make all the changes that we talked about today, I can like look at how long it is. Comments, more comments.
all I wanted to say was the concern has come up a couple more times that the SOC referendum is not finished being filled out. But I think something to keep in mind is that students tend to be like a lot more opinionated about what Senate's doing in the SOC unless it's like direct to like their budget. Like people come to our meetings and they get like very angry and like write on Facebook about how like cross they are with us. So I think a lot of people like have strong enough sentiments about Senate that they would fill it out regardless of the link. So I don't know if it'll take quite as long to get quite as much like hair pulling to get people to fill this out just because like Senate is a pretty polarizing body on campus. So I think we should keep in mind that like people are gonna fill this out because they want the closest word.
Does anyone else think that this is too long? Because I don't think so. To be honest, like, especially in comparison to the past few ones, I think we can through all the questions we can have plus the ones that just came up and would be fine. So I don't really see a need to cut anything because I think everything we have is really popular and we just but I meant more so in the sense that like how long it takes to go around.
Or like how much time approximately?
This would take me 1.5 minutes, maybe less than
I think that's too long. 30 seconds or below.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely know about
Yeah, average student.
Well, I think it was just sent out a survey that was like, you'll take you 5 minutes. Like, that didn't seem unwieldy. I mean, it was a silly survey, I didn't do it. But like, for disclosure, I did not. But I just wanted, yeah, like, it wasn't much of the time, but like, if Wilder voice can send out a survey that long, like, why can't send it?
I mean, we can just say it takes 5 minutes. I mean, like, it's fine. I'm really okay with that. Back my question, yes.
Are you guys incentivizing this at all? I know that a lot of surveys are like, if you answer our survey, you get entered to win $10 to Agave. And that's totally worth my while, I'm not gonna lie.
That's what we did with the SFC referendum. It worked really well. That's definitely something I'm going to consider, like, at least online in this whole process.
I like Agave.
Do you have enough money for that?
No, that was going to be my last announcement, is I've only received, like, one person so far for the sledgehammer raffle tickets. Just, like, if you could do, like, $2 or $3, that would be awesome.
Can't this be our budget?
Can it come, we can't, at Senate can't fund giveaways.
Yeah.
That's why.
The Texas organization can't fund giveaways. Against the
Wow,
law.
thank you guys so much. Thank you so much. Wow. Do you want to change that first? Or great. Yeah, and whenever you guys can get it to me, that'd be awesome. All right. Anything else?
That's an idiot question.
Yeah, that's in. That's it. And like, feel free to email me. I like really doubt I'm gonna sleep for the next like 3 days because I have so much stuff going on. So like, just email me. I'll probably respond. Okay. If no one else has any other things, does anyone want to facilitate next week? Who hasn't done it?
Absolutely, I've done it like in a year.
Great, Peter, awesome. And then we need to do checkouts. So you just do name PPPs and like what you're gonna do. So Mia, I like she, her, hers, and I'm going to add all these questions to the referendum, launch it, and hold a forum on Thursday, April 17th, 7:30 in Wilder 101. Which you guys, yeah. Also, if you guys can come to the forums, that would be amazing. Yeah, you have to go. So if you're not going to go, email Emma. 24 hours in advance, please. Yeah.
When is this?
April 17th, 7:30 to 8:30, Wilder 101. I will send out a reminder email.
Which one is this?
Tobacco policy.
Oh! Should I bring cigars for everyone?
Yes.
Like,
Yeah.
what
Wine
time?
flavor.
7:30 to 8:30, Wilder 101.
Not a joke.
But yeah, so that's my checkout.
You have Cubans?
I've aired episode pros and his. I'm looking at my calendar to see that's really good. So I'm going to follow up on
the financial aid thing tonight at the Captain Queen, and also Dean Tremonte and Matthew Zachary on Monday. I'm going to go to Rachel's office hours for some reason. Was it committee stuff?
In case we need to
In case we need to so that's all I get. I'll be there. I'm going to go to the Community Benefits Coalition meeting, which I accidentally lied about. It's the 22nd, that's something else. It's the 16th at the public library. So I'm going to go to that. And then I'm going to have office hours. And I'm going to try to go to the student health working group. That's this
Thursday. Otherwise,
I'm going to do my best to be there. I'm going to try to go to the South Campus working group, community public transportation working group. Hold me to it. I will do it.
That's the attitude. Hell yes.
I paraphrased on the working groups. I forgot what the coalition was called, so I wrote the coalition. So you can what it
Not that one.
Community benefits.
Roger.
That's the 16th, not the 22nd.
The 16th at 5 p.m. in the public library.
Hey, I'm Rachel. She's here. If I am not mistaken, our MRC training is this week.
Yes.
Wait, what date?
Wednesday.
What time?
8 p.m.
Why? I have a game is at 5. I will not be.
Can you email me that? Thank you.
It's on this Wednesday.
I'm doing it on Windows. You can do it, Emma.
I will also get the more prepared for that.
Oh.
Okay, Aaron, you're done. You're done.
Thank you.
Oh, it's mine. For I'm Emma. I'm going to the MRC workshop. My office hours. I'm going to try and clean the Senate office because I was there today and there was a cup of coffee from a year ago.
Did you throw it out?
Yeah,
that was mine.
That was a year ago. I'm going to try and clean the Senate office, and that's about it. I'm done. Okay.
I'm Peter Arden. This week, Peter Arden, I'm sorry. And this week, I'm going to work on this EMT stuff, try to get a proposal in, and try to make some ground on bringing this EMT course in, and contact this medical controller for this local area that we live in here, known as Plenary County. And I'm going to the MRC training on Wednesday, and also I'm going to sleep at some point and get a new cast. All good things. Yay. Here's Captain dressing up.
Drug distribution.
My name is Paul. I use he, him, his. This week I will have my office hour. I will go to the tobacco forum on Thursday. I will go to the Green Edge Fund meeting on Thursday. I'll go to the Community and Environmental Sustainability Tuesday. And that's it. That's all I
I'm she, her, hers. Going to go to the MRC training. Going to go to the tobacco policy forum. Also hires. And then do the South Campus working group. And
My name is Mahmoud. I see him and his. I also go to the student health working group, the tobacco forum, which I'll also be preparing for, the MRC training. I do believe that now that we have back to the committee meeting tomorrow, and then we'll have the general faculty meeting on Wednesday.
I'm Zia. I prefer he, him, and his. This week I will be holding an office hour hosting the Student Health Working Group 7 p.m. Thursday in Nazareth. General faculty meeting on Wednesday. There's a community meeting tonight about financial aid policy change. We should all go there if possible. And it's back home. Thank you.
Wow, great. Thank you, everybody. And